Hello everyone, welcome back to our Python programming series. Today we are going to learn another fundamental programming concept called loops. Loops allow us to repeat a block of code multiple times without writing the same statements again and again. This makes our program shorter, cleaner and much more efficient. Here are our learning objectives. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to define what loops are and why they are useful, write and trace while loops, write and iterate with for loops and range, use break and continue to control loop flow and solve simple looping problems. First, let's revise what we learned in our previous lectures. We learned about comparison operators such as equal to, greater than, less than, not equal to, right? Less than equal to, greater than equal to. We also learned about logical operators such as and, or, and not. Finally, we learned about conditional statements such as if else, if else, which help Python make decisions. So today, instead of learning how to make decisions, we are going to learn about how to perform the same task repeatedly. First of all, let's talk about why we need loops in the first place. Suppose I want to print the word welcome, right? Let's try it. Let's try it on our code editor. If I want to print welcome 5 times, for whatever reason, it can be any word, but I'm using welcome here. If I have to print it 5 times, yes, I know I can copy and paste it, but I'm trying to show you how much time consuming it is, right? If we want to print the same word again and again. Right. Welcome. Welcome. See, I'd have to write all of this. This works, but this only works because these are 5 words, right? We have to print it 5 times. But imagine having to print it 100 times, right? It would be a lot of repetitive code. It will be very cluttered, right? Programming is all about avoiding unnecessary repetition. Loops solve this problem by allowing us to repeat code automatically. If I run this, I am getting welcome 5 times, but do you think there is a way in which we can make Python do this in just a few lines of code? Let's see. We can read this as well. Why do we need loops? Repeating the same statement many times is inefficient. Loops let us run a block of code multiple times without rewriting it, saving time, reducing errors, and making maintenance easier. Now, what is a loop? A loop is basically a programming structure that repeats a block of code until a condition is no longer true or until all items in a sequence have been processed, right? Think of everyday examples. Climbing stairs. You repeat the same action for each step. Reading a book. You turn one page after another until you reach the end of the book. Or listening to songs in a playlist. The music player repeats the same action for each song. Loops in programming work in a similar way, right? What is a loop? A loop repeats a block of code until a stopping condition is reached. Real life parallels, climbing stairs step by step, reading pages in a book, or playing songs in a playlist. Each item is processed in turn. Now, what are the types of loops in Python? Python has two main types of loops. First is while loop and second is for loop. A while loop keeps repeating as long as the condition remains true, right? And a for loop repeats over a sequence of values such as numbers, strings, or list. What's written here? Types of loop in Python. While loop. It repeats as long as the condition is true. It is good for when you don't know the number of iterations ahead of time, right? And a for loop iterates over a sequence, like a list, string, or range. Good for when you know the items to process. Okay? And we have a diagram here that shows the loop cycle, right? The first step is to initialize a variable. Then Python checks the condition, right? If the condition is true, it executes the code inside the loop. After that, it updates the variable, right? Then it goes back and checks the condition again. Okay? This cycle continues until the condition becomes false. Once the condition is false, the loop ends. See? Pretty easy to understand, right? Now let's move on to while loop. The while loop is used when we want to repeat a block of code as long as the condition remains true, right? The syntax, as you can see, do you remember what a syntax is? Yes, it's the grammar of a programming language, the specific way in which we are supposed to write the code. If the syntax is wrong, the code won't work. So the syntax for while loop is while, condition, and then statement. The loop runs while the condition evaluates to true. Ensure that the loop updates state so it eventually stops, right? We can't get, otherwise we'll get infinite loops, okay? And here as well, as you can see, after the colon of the while statement and condition, there is a, after writing the while condition, while and then condition, we have a colon, and after that this indentation is part of the syntax. You can't skip this indentation, right? You have to leave a space here and then write your statement here, just like it was in if condition, right? Now let's move on to our example. Let's try an example in our code editor. We'll delete this. So count is equal to 1, and then we'll write while count. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all of this. Print count count is equal to count plus 1. Okay, so first let us understand each line of this, right? First we create our variable called count and assign it the value 1. Do you remember how assignment works? Right value to left variable, right? So first we create our variable count and assign it the value 1. Then we ask Python, is count less than or equal to 5? This is our condition, right? While count less than or equal to 5. So initially the answer is yes, because count is equal to 1. So Python will print 1. Then we increase the value here, we'll increase it by 1, and now count will become 2. So Python checks the condition again, it goes back here, right? While the condition is true, right? It goes back here. Is 2 less than equal to 5? It's less than 5. So again, it will print the value of count and it will get updated here. It will become 3 now. So again, it will go back. 3 is less than equal to 5. It's less than 5. Count will print again. 4. See, 3 plus 1, 4. Now count will become 4. Is 4 less than equal to 5? It's less than 5. So now count will be printed again. Then again it checks the condition. See, it's running again and again. So now it will be 4 plus 1, 5. It will go back here. What do you think will happen this time? Do you think count will print this time? Yes, it will, because we are using less than equal to operator, right? Although 5 is not less than 5, it is equal to 5. So this will still work. Now count will be printed again, and it will come here and become count plus 1 is equal to 5 plus 1 is equal to 6, right? It will become 6. Now when it goes to check the condition, is 6 less than 5? No. Is 6 equal to 5? No. So now this condition becomes false and will come out of the loop, right? So once this condition becomes false, will come out of the loop will stop. So I'll run it once for you to see. See, here we're getting our answer till 5, because once it becomes 6, the loop will stop. We could also, you know how we were printing welcome before this? We can use this same thing to print welcome. Welcome count is equal to 1. See, we just tweaked a few pieces and we can now print our welcome 5 times using the same while loop. Otherwise we had to write it again. You saw, na? Otherwise we had to write it 5 times. Print welcome, print welcome, print welcome. Again and again we wrote it. But this time we just wrote this loop and we can print it as many times as we want. We could also change this number, right? What we did was we assigned the value of the string welcome to a variable v, right? Then we already had our count is equal to 1. So what we did was while count is less than equal to 5, less than equal to 5, it will print 5 times, because here we are doing count plus 1, right? While count less than equal to 5, print v, print this thing, this variable, right? Print the variable v, the value inside the variable v, and then we have count is equal to count plus 1. So how it will go is, let's do a dry run. When we sort of see how our loop is working one by one through each iteration, right? Without actually performing it, without actually running the code, it's called a dry run, okay? So here it will go count is equal to 1. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is. So it will print v, print welcome once. Count is equal to count plus 1. It will become 2. 2 is less than 5. Yes. Print v again. Then it will come here and check the condition. Then it will come here and update the variable again. It will become 3. Count is less than equal to 5 again. Yes, because 3 is less than equal to 5. Print v again for the 3rd time. Then it will go here again, be updated. It will become 4. Print it for the 4th time. And then it will come here and become 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. We'll check it here. 5 is less than equal to 5. It is equal to 5. So it is printed for the last time. The value of count here will become 5 plus 1 is equal to 6 now. Is 6 less than or equal to 5? It isn't. So we will come out of this loop, and thus our welcome is printed 5 times. We could print it as many times as we want, right? As I was saying, printing it 5 times, okay, we can write the code 5 times, but what if we want to print it 20 times? What then? Are we going to write print welcome 20 times? No, we can just write this small loop. How many lines is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines of code, and we are getting our welcome printed 20 times. Isn't it efficient? Right? It takes up less memory and it's easier to write. It may look a little confusing right now, but it will get easier, okay? Now we can just go back here. Let's look at this example here. We already did this, right? Count is equal to 1 while count is less than equal to 5, colon, enter, print count. Here we have to take care of the indentation. Count is equal to count plus 1, updation of the variable, and it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each on its own line as we saw. The loop prints count, then increments it here until the condition is false, and then it will come out of the loop, just as we did, right? You might have to practice a few programs for you to fully get this, but that's basically it. Let's move on now. Let us move on to the next thing, which is basically a detailed explanation of how the while loop actually works, right? First, we initialize count is equal to 1. Since count 1, since the condition is true as 1 is less than equal to 5, Python prints count, and then count becomes true, right? It is updated, and then we repeat the check again, we repeat the condition again, and then it basically repeats till count becomes 6, right? Since 6 is not less than equal to 5, this condition becomes false and Python will exit from the loop. Okay? Let's move on to infinite loop. What happens when a condition never changes? What happens if we forget to update the variable, right? We can actually try this here. What happens if we don't update the variable, right? This is our variable updation. This is where the updation is happening, because it was 1, then it became 2, then it became 3. If we remove this, let's take 5 only. So if we remove the updation, what will happen? Think about it a little, right? If the updation is removed, that means count is always less than 5. This condition will always remain true. Why? Because count will always be 1. Look at it. If we do a dry run, while count is less than equal to 5, print v, right? Count is 1, 1 is less than equal to 5, printed. Now there is no updation. It will go back to the condition, count is still less than equal to 5, it is still 1, print, still 1, print, 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 print. It will repeat again and again. It's an infinite loop, right? So that is why you have to make sure that your loop has a stopping point, right? Otherwise, the only way to get out of it is to terminate the loop, okay? If we run this, let's run it once, okay? getting printed again and again and again from here to, it's just infinitely getting printed. It's printing, still printing, still printing, still printing, still printing. It will print forever. Okay, are you looking at it? Still printing. So we'll just kill this code. That's what happens when you don't put a stopping condition, right? Don't update it, don't update your variable, or don't put a specific stopping condition. This can happen and cause major errors in our program, right? So you just have to keep that in mind. If you forget to update a loop variable, the loop condition may never become false. We just did this, and because count is never changed inside the loop, the condition remains true and execution never progresses. This creates an infinite loop. To fix it, update the variable or add a break when appropriate. We'll learn about break in a bit, right? This is also a very useful statement in Python. So for now, we'll move on to the for loop. When you know how many repetitions are needed, right? The for loop is generally used when we already know how many times we want to repeat something. Its syntax is basically given here. For variable in sequence, colon, indentation, very important, statement. Unlike a while loop, we don't need to manually update the variable. Python automatically moves on to the next value in the sequence, right? So it's basically used for arrays and stuff like that. I'll teach you what arrays are in a bit. So yes, the for loop runs a block for each item in a sequence like a list or a range. It is used when the number of iterations is known or tied to a collection. Each pass assigns the next element from sequence to variable, then executes the indented statements. This is also a very important type of loop for Python, okay? So now let's take an example for our for loop, right? To understand it, we'll take a very easy example. For I in range 1, 6, since I haven't taught you arrays yet, print I. We'll run it, and this is our answer. You must be wondering what range is. Range is basically a function in Python. I think I had a slide here somewhere. Yes, range is used to create a sequence of integers used commonly in for loops, right? It accepts 1 to 3 arguments. The first argument, it accepts 1 to 3 arguments. Range stop starts at 0, goes to stop 1. Range start stop starts at start, ends at stop -1. It accepts 1 to 3 arguments. Range stop starts at 0, goes to stop -1. Range start, comma stop starts at start and ends at stop -1. And then there is range start, stop, and step. Steps by step, right? Basically increases by this step with each turn. For example, here the range 5 prints from 0 because we didn't really give a start point. It starts from 0 here. See, it's this thing here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why does it stop at 4? Because it's supposed to stop at stop -1. This 5 is the stop. This is stop -1. Then if we give start and stops both, it starts at 1, stops at stop minus 1, so it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we give start, stop and step, starts at 2, yes, stops at stop minus 1, 10, yes, and step by 2. That means it increases by 2 steps by each turn. So we start at 2, step by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, we'll look at it once. I'm basically using it to show that how we use for loops, right? Because we need a range of sequence of numbers. If we want to print start stop, right? Starts at 1, stops at stop minus 1. Okay. If we take that example with 5 here and we run it, we only have stop here. So it will start from 0, stop at stop minus 1. If we start at 2 and our stop is 13 and step by 2 and we run it, here we have start 2, stop minus 1, 12 and step by 2, so it will go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10, 8, 10, 12, right? So that is how we use for loops to print a sequence of numbers, right? Let's look at this example here. For I in range 1, 6, I is a variable, right? It's basically a variable. Don't worry about it. We got this output. Range 1, 6 yields value through 1 through 5. The loop prints each value in turn. This is how for loop works at a glance, right? For easier understanding. High-level steps in a loop that iterate a sequence. First, start, right? Python takes the first value from the sequence, then it executes the code, then automatically moves on to the next value from the sequence. If there are any more values, then yes, execute loop body and repeat. If no, then the loop is ended, right? This pattern ensures that the loop stops when the sequence is finished, exhausted. In a simple way, this Python first takes the first value from the sequence, executes the code, then automatically moves on to the next value, keeps doing this until there are no values left. At this point, the loop will stop, right? So let's move on to our break statement, which is another important statement in Python. It is used to exit the loop early. Sometimes we don't want the loop to continue until the end. The break statement immediately stops the loop. If we look at an example, let's delete this. Let's see. For I in range, what should we take? 1, 11. If I is equal to 6, I is our variable here. Break print I. So basically here, this is the range we have given, right? 1, 11. So the starting is 1 and the stopping point is stop minus 1, which is 10. So it will run from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. But what if we want to stop want the loop to stop at 6, then we can put this condition in. If condition if I is equal to 6, because we don't just use a single equal to sign when showing equivalence in a programming language, because that is the assignment operator, you know that. So here basically if I becomes 6, then we execute the break statement. Break statement immediately pulls us out of the loop. It immediately stops the loop, right? And then only the numbers from 1 to 5 should be printed if this works properly, right? And if I is not equal to 6, this condition will be false, and thus it won't go inside the for loop, right? If I is 2, then this break statement will be false, right? If I is, for example, 2, then this condition inside the if will be false, because 2 is not equal to 6. If the condition is false, it doesn't go inside the if statement, right? So it will simply print that value. But if the condition becomes true, I becomes 6, then it will simply break it and stop the loop, right? Stop the for loop, because we know that it will go sequentially. It will go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 will come eventually. Let's run this. See, we're only getting values till 5, because as soon as it became 6, it didn't reach this thing anymore. It reached the break statement, and because of that we broke out of the for loop. I can also use any other value. If I want to print 6 values, then I can just write 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, that's about it. It's very useful. Next is the continue statement. The break and continue statements can often be confusing because they sound extremely similar, but they are in fact not. Continue is used to skip to the next iteration. You see, when I started learning programming, I was very confused between these two because they seem like the same thing to me, but they aren't. The break statement is used to break out of the entire loop, right? It completely stops the execution of the loop and we break out of the loop. But the continue statement only stops the current iteration, right? It skips the current iteration and starts the next one. For example, if the loop is running the second time, right? If we have a loop that is supposed to run 5 times, and the loop has run once, then it's running twice, and we have written continue statement there, right? Then it will just skip this one thing, this one's loop, and skip to the third iteration. The loop won't be completely stopped, right? Only that one iteration will be skipped. Let's try it once. It's easier to look at it. Open a new terminal. If we take for I in range 1, 6, if I equal to 3, colon, continue, print I. So what does this do? When I becomes 3, Python will skip this print statement, right? If when I This will iterate till the stopping condition, which is stop minus 1 5. So it will print values 1 through 5, right? So here, if when the value becomes I is equal to 3, the continue statement will be executed and it won't reach this. It will skip this iteration and won't print 3 and move on to the next iteration and will print 4 instead, right? Let's try it. See, 1 2 skipped 3 4 5. This is what the continue statement does. If we use break here instead, we use break instead of continue and we run it. See, it completely stops the loop after it reaches 3. The moment I becomes 3, the break statement will entirely stop the loop. But in the continue statement, only 3 was skipped. The rest were printed perfectly fine. But 3 got skipped. That iteration got skipped and move on to the next, right? This is continue, this is break. Okay? Very easy, right? You can read this once. Continue skips the rest of the current loop body and moves to the next iteration. It is useful when we have to ignore specific values while continuing the loop. The example given here is for I in range. We just did this, right? For I in range 1 6, if I is equal to 3, continue, otherwise continue and move on to the next iteration, right? Won't print this. And it's the same as the output we got, right? We got 1 2 4 5, 1 2 4 5. Value 3 is skipped, but the loop continues. Now, while loop versus for loop. If we compare these two, a while loop is useful when we don't know in advance how many times we're going to repeat the condition, as I told you, right? There's a couple differences. A while loop, let's now let's differentiate between while loop versus for loop, right? And when should we use each? To state the basic differences, while loop uses condition, while for loop uses sequence, right? The while loop may run indefinitely, as we saw when we didn't put a stopping condition, or as we saw when we didn't put our stopping condition or updation, we didn't update the variable, it kept running, it kept printing welcome, 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 it didn't stop. But a for loop usually has a fixed number of iterations. While loop needs a manual update, right? We had to put in a updation condition, right? We had to put in a stopping condition. We had to update our variable again and again. So it needs a manual update. But a for loop automatically updates through the sequence. Once the sequence is over, it will just stop, right? So because of all these reasons, the while loop is good for when the repetitions are unknown, and a for loop is good when the repetitions are known. We can choose while for event-driven or condition-based repetition and choose for predictable sequence-based iteration. Right? Okay, so let's try some practice questions now. We have these questions here. Let's look at the first question. Print numbers from 1 to 10 using a while loop. Alright. Let's just clear this thing. Get a new terminal. So we have to print numbers from 1 to 10 using a while loop. Since the question says to specifically use a while loop, we'll use that. Let's take a variable count, right? And let's name it 1. We'll need a variable to keep track of the number which we are currently printing. That's why we use count. Okay. So since we have to print numbers from 1 to 10, when should the loop stop? Yes, when we reach 10. So first we'll write while. Remember the syntax of while, and then we'll write our condition. When should the loop stop? When the number reaches 10, less than or equal to 10, and then colon. So then we'll write print count. Keep the indentation in mind, okay? Then count is equal to count plus 1. So yeah, this is our code. Let me explain it a bit first. So we're taking count as we did earlier to keep track of the number of turns, right? Count less than equal to 10. This is our stopping condition, right? When as soon as the count reaches equal to 10, it will stop, right? Then count is equal to count plus 1. Updates are variable, right? Basically this 1 will go here. 1 is less than equal to 10. Yes, it is. Print count here right now is 1, so it will print 1. Then it will update count is equal to 1 plus 1, it will be 2. Then we'll check it again. 2 is less than equal to 10. Yes, print 2. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 is less than equal to 10. Yes, print 3. Now it will become 4. Is 4 less than equal to 10? Yes, it is. Print 4. Update it again. 5. 5 less than equal to 10. Print 6. 6 less than equal to 10. Print 6. Now it will become 7. 7 less than equal to 10. Print 8. 8 less than equal to 10. Print 9. 9 less than equal to 10. Print 9. Now it will become 10. Is 10 less than equal to 10? It is equal to 10. Therefore, it will now print 10. 10 plus 1, now it will become 11. Now this condition will be checked again. Is 11 less than or equal to 10? No, it isn't. So in this way, our numbers from 1 to 10 will be printed. Let's run this once, right? And as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our program is working properly. Pretty easy this one was, right? We have already done similar things. Now let's move on to the next question. Print numbers from 1 to 10 using a for loop. First we used a while loop, now we'll use a for loop. Okay, this is also pretty easy. Let's first write it and then I'll explain it to you, right? For I in range 1, 11. Do you remember? If we have to print numbers from 1 to 10, why are we writing 11 here? Because do you remember what our stop was? The last number in the range is stop minus 1, right? So it will print from 1 from the start to stop minus 1, that is 10, right? I told you that already. Now we go inside the for loop, print I. right? So for I is our variable here. For I in range 1 comma 11, that means this is the range from 1 to 10, print I. So this is a sequential range. I will iterate through each number in the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it will stop, right? Let's try it. Let's see if it works. We'll run it. As you can see, numbers from 1 to 10. Shall I also write the what we use, the for loop? Shall I also write the while loop that we used to print this? Just so that you can compare it. See, this is the way to print 1 to 10 in while loop, and then this is for loop. Okay. Right. Now let us move on to our next question. Print even numbers from 1 to 20. So now we only want even numbers. How can we get only even numbers? Do you remember studying anything to print only even numbers? How are we going to check if a number is even? If you have watched the previous lectures, you'd remember. Yes, the number should be divisible by 2, right? If it's divisible by 2, it will print an even number. Did it mention what loop? Okay, so to do this specific program, we have two ways, right? I'll show you both of them. Let's first try the shorter method, right? We'll write for I in range 2, 21, 2, colon print I. So this will print our even numbers from 1 to 20. We have to print from 1 to 20, right? Yeah. So how it will do that? This is the start and this is the stop, and we'll stop at stop minus 1. That is, it will go from the range will be from 2 to 20, right? And then using step, it will increase by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, like that, right? Naturally it will print even numbers if we do that. Shall I try to run it? As you can see, all of these are even numbers: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, even numbers. Okay, this is pretty easy using simple addition because step adds 2, right? Now another way you can do this without using step and using a concept that we learned previously with the modulus. Do you remember it? Do for I in range 1, no, sorry, for I in range 1 comma 21. Here it doesn't matter if we start with 1 or if we start with 2. Okay, I'll tell you why. If I modulus 2 equal to 0, print I. As you can see, this is a bit longer than this one. This is only in 2 lines, this is 3 lines, but for the sake of revision I'll show you. For I in range, this will go from 1 to 20, right? 21 minus 1, 20. This thing we learned in our previous lectures. What does the modulus function do? What does the modulus operator do? Yes, it basically gives us the remainder after division, right? And when is a number even? When it is divisible by 2. So if a number is divisible by 2, then the remainder would obviously be 0, right? And thus we'll get our even numbers. Shall we run this once? Shall we run this once? As you can see, we're getting the same result using this method as well. As you can see, we are getting the same result using this method as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, right? So these are two different methods to print even numbers from 1 to 20. Okay, here we are using the concept of step, and here, just to revise, we used if I modulus 2 equal to 0, right? Similarly, for odd functions, there will also be two methods, right? For I in range 1, 21, 2, print I. Shall we try to run it once? See, here we did use 1 because 1 is an odd number, right? Since we had to print even number in the previous one, we started with 2. So starting from 1, if we add 2, then it will be 3, 5, 7. See here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. Odd numbers between 1 to 20. And similar to what we did with our even numbers, for this as well we can use the second method for I in range 1, 21. If I modulus 2, now here we'll use not equal to, right? If it's not equal to 0, then obviously it will be an odd number. Print I. And we'll run this once. As you can see, same result. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. Odd numbers from 1 to 20. Okay? Let us now move on to the next question. Print the multiplication table for a given number from 1 to 10. It says given number, so we'll just take an input from the user. Do you remember how we take input from the user? Let's just name it number is equal to, how do we take an input? Using input function. Input, please enter a number. Okay, so Will this work? If you use it as it is, will it work? It won't work because the input function returns a string, as I've told you before. The input function will return a string, so we can't use a string for calculations, therefore it won't work. So here we are going to have to use type conversion. We just write int here and enclose this input function in these brackets, and now this has been converted into a string. Now we can use it. I'll also remove the int once and show it to you, just in case you think I'm lying to you. So multiplication table from 1 to 10 says, therefore we can, what will be our range be? 1 to 11, because stop minus 1, 10, 1 to 10, right? So here we'll go for I in range 1 comma 11. Print number comma into, this is basically a multiplication sign. Let's just write, okay, comma I is equal to number multiplied by, this is the multiplication operator, I. Okay, so here we take a number as an input, then for I in range 1 comma 11, so this is the range of 1 to 10. This will iterate through each number. Print 1, if we start from 1, right? Print 1, this is basically just a string, right? 1 multiplied by, so yes, if we do a dry run, you can see number, whatever number we input, number, this is the multiplication sign that we have put in just for presentation purposes, multiplied by I in the first iteration will be 1 because we're starting from 1. Number multiplied by 1 is equal to number into 1, right? And yes, let's try running it once. Let's enter a small number, let's enter 2. As you can see, we have got our multiplication table of 2 here. 2 multiplied by 1 is equal to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, up to 10, right? So as I was telling you before, if we don't convert our input into int, this won't work because you can't perform these operations on strings, right? Please enter number, let's enter 2 again. See, this is what's happening. What happens when you multiply a string? We learned it when we learned about operators. Yes, it keeps repeating as many times as it's multiplied by, right? If we did an example in our previous, or maybe even before that, ha into 3 times, ha ha ha, right? It just keeps going into 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? This is what happens. Therefore, we have to convert it into int. So setting these brackets. We run it now. Enter number, let's enter 2 again. and we're getting our proper multiplication table. So as I keep telling you, you have to keep in mind that input returns a string, and that is why we are writing int input. Okay. Now let us move on to our next question. Find the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. What are natural numbers? Starting from 1, right? Let's just kill this. First, I'll write it and then I'll explain it. Sum, let's take a variable sum is equal to 0. Then for I in range 1, 11. This range will be 1 to 10, right? Colon sum is equal to sum plus I. Then we print sum is equal to comma our variable sum. Okay, so let's think about it a bit little, right? Sum is equal to 0 at first. This will go from 1 to 10, this range, right? Sum is equal to 0. Here, sum is equal to 0 plus I. What is I at first? 1. Okay, done. Now our sum will become 1, right? 0 plus 1, 1. Now we'll go back here. Now our I is 2. Sum is equal to sum plus I. Now it will become 1 plus 2 because our I is 2 now and our sum had been updated to 1. So now it will become 1 plus 2, that is 3. Now it will go here again. Our I is updated again to 3. So now it's 3 plus 3 and it basically goes through that, right? It keeps printing these numbers to 10. So if I run this and then basically it will, after coming out of the for loop, will print sum is equal to and our variable sum. I'll show you what happens if we put this print inside the for loop. We don't take it outside the for loop. There is a reason we have taken it outside. First let's run this and we get sum is equal to 55. You can try it on your calculators once if you want to, but this is basically it, right? So now I think I keep saying right. Now let's see what happens if we don't take our print out of this for loop. Let's run it. See, it keeps printing again and again and again. Instead of giving us the final result, it keeps showing us each iteration. 1, then 3, 6, 10, 15. Each iteration it's showing us. We just want the final result, right? Therefore, we take this print out. So that's that. Now our last question is print each character of a string using a for loop. Okay. Of a string. The string is not specified, so shall we take the string from the user? What string should we take? Let's take name. Name is pretty versatile. Input. Please enter your name. Okay. So here do we need to convert it into anything? We had to convert it into int input in the previous one. Do we have to convert it here? No, we don't, because what we need is a string. Our question demands a string. Print each character of a string using a for loop. The, the return type of input is already string, right? Now let's see. For earlier we were using the variable name I when we were doing numbers. Here let's use letter according to our question, right? In our question it was given letter in a string. So we'll just, you can name it anything. You can even name it I if you want to, but it just feels appropriate. Colon. For letter in name, we already have a sequence here. Print letter. Here we took the print inside the for loop because we want to print each letter. Earlier we took it outside because we just wanted the final sum, right? Since we took it inside, it will print each letter. You could also write letter is equal to comma letter. Okay, take a look at it once. This thing will basically go through each character of our name one by one, right? Again and again. And as I told you, the letter is just the variable name. It stores one character at a time. And print, you know what print does, and this are variable here. If we run it, it's asking for our name. What should we name it? Let's write Alexander. Long name, you know. And we press enter. As you can see, it iterated through this name one by one and printed each time Alexander. See? And that is it for our questions. You can also try other questions. And that is it for our practice questions for today. You can try all of these ones yourself, right? It would actually, I think I'm telling this too late, but it would actually be better if you pause the video once and then try it yourself and then check your answer from the video, right? That kind of back and forth. So let's quickly revise what we have learned today. Today we learned what loops are and why we need them. We learned about the while loop, the for loop. We learned about the range function. We learned about what the break statement is, what the continue statement is. We also learned the difference between while and for loops, and we practiced a lot of questions, right? In the next lecture, we'll learn about strings. We'll see how to store text. Like we already learned a little bit about strings, but we'll learn about them in a more detailed manner, right? So we learn how to store text, access individual characters, and even use loops to process strings one character at a time. We already did that in this question, in this last question. But yeah, it comes under strings. That is it for our lecture today. Thank you.